Welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Your host, Jill Hart, the Coach's Alchemist. Couldn't be more excited to have you join us today. On this podcast, we celebrate the champions of change, the up-and-coming life, health and transformational coaches who are fearlessly stepping forward to make a difference in the world. Get ready for inspiring stories, practical tips, and powerful moments that will motivate you to make a positive change in your life and those around you. We're happy to have you join us on this incredible journey as we dive into the world of life, health, and transformational coaches who are lighting up the path towards a better tomorrow.
Hi, and welcome to the New World Order Showcase Podcast. Today we have with us Jill Kirkham. Jill is the Mind Alchemist. Don't you just love that? Jill enhances the lives and relationships of conscious leaders, change makers, and spiritual entrepreneurs using a precision connection with the higher self and multidimensional awareness. Any weight of the past heals through the subconscious and energetic alchemy, which leads to intentional, extraordinary growth. Creator of State Change Alchemy, a process of self-empowerment through mind and heart coherence. I love all of that. Jill is so yummy. So tell us how you got started. Give us your story. Tell us all the stuff.
Oh, the story. Where to start? So it started with corporate sales. We'll go there. We'll start at that place and then we might go back. It started with, before corporate sales, it started with me having an ADHD diagnosis a very, very, very long time ago. So back then there was no real understanding what I now see as highly sensitive, highly intuitive, high functioning, not being able to sit still, worried about everything, jumping around on a hot tin roof very often. And that kind of was my life. So that's the shape of the why am I like the way I am, and why are humans the way they are? And the plus side of those kinds of awarenesses is being able to read a room, connecting people really quickly with what they want, their desires. I was known in Cheltenham in Montpellier, which is exactly where I'm sat now, and I don't live here anymore, sat in my car. I used to be here my whole misspent youth, and known as the Cheltenham Pied Piper. I'd always be organising parties and getting everyone together, and it was kind of known that Jill Kirkham was the person to know around town for making things happen, and who's who and what's what and where to go. And I guess that's the theme for me, is that was great, but it wasn't satisfying, and it was very toxic for my well-being because of the amount of alcohol involved. And so I took all of those skills, and then when I was in corporate sales, I had this huge wham moment. Everything, oh no, oh, did you see that? The lights went off when I went wham.
Alchemy at work.
Dun, 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 the world changed. And then the superpowers came online, and I started having connections with star beings, did trauma release work. My corporate job had to go because it was just horrendous. Long story. My whole life just pitted away in various ways. I wasn't listening, so the universe gave me a big, and I had to listen, and that's when I went into the trauma release. And ding, another ding of confirmation from the car, thank you. And that was, that's how it all began. That's how everything with the lines with my values is helping people. What's human behavior about? How can we change what's going on in our mind? How can we change what's going on for the better? How can we allow ourselves to sit in the sorry about the dings, in the darker spaces sometimes, and not try and get all toxic and positive just because we're feeling bad. You know, the nuances of life absolutely fulfill me, and the magic that happens when we're in alignment with the synchronicities that just one after the other, after the other, after the another, to help us fulfill our purpose are so magical that I want as many people as possible to be able to feel those things that I feel now after going through, I must admit, the ringer of all the trauma release stuff, but actually it's so worth it. So I'm making processes that people don't have to go through what I went through in order to feel like this. That's the idea.
That's amazing. It kind of goes along with what we were talking about before we started recording, where it's like, I don't want to live between the lines, because we're taught growing up that you have to go to school and you have to do all these things, and all the shoulds of life, where you're forced into certain behaviors, whether or not you're good at it, you want to do it, it's just expected that you will do it. Whereas the breaking free it's painful. It's a struggle to be yourself, but in being yourself, you are unique. And it's kind of scary to go out there in that zone, to play in that arena.
Yeah, it's really courageous, and I do celebrate that. To be not only an entrepreneur, but an entrepreneur going into the esoteric world in a knowing the judgment that comes with that, although it's a much better now. I'm sure you're realizing or seeing that people are much more open to this kind of work than they were even 5 years ago. But yeah, it's a big deal, because what we have to shine our light in order for others to be able to wake up and shine theirs, and some will, and some will maybe throw some mud if they don't want to come. So absolutely, it's one step at a time.
And it doesn't take that many in order to get the shift to happen. In fact, you can feel the shift happening already. Just as you were saying, 5 years ago, people weren't aware of the consciousness that they were creating, and they were creating a consciousness that was horrible. I mean, the consequences of what the thoughts were that were happening around people were running us as a civilization into a really dark place. But I think COVID just like shifted people's attention, and they started looking inward and then outward, and realized, hey, that's not the reality I want to live in. This is awful. Let's manifest something better. And people like you that are out there saying, hey, this is how you do it. This is the easy way, or you can, try to figure it out yourself. And that's the hard way. And you're going to go through a lot of bumps and turns and twists and get your knees scraped along the way, going by yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, I think COVID's a really good point. It's around alignment, isn't it? What do I actually value, and what do I actually think is right, and how willing am I to put myself or my head up on the parapet of difference and change based on my value system, and what am I going to ignore? That was the main thing with COVID, and it did create a big split because a lot of people had varying views. And I love the saying, separation creates elevation. I absolutely love that, because separation from self, separation from other people, separation from comfort zones, separation from the norm. And then hopefully that the elevation then creates a unification post separation, obviously going around in a bit of a loop like that. And I think COVID did that, because we then had to reunify in one way or another with ourselves and with other people, because there was so many different stories going around and behaviors, and a lot of people had to have a big long look at themselves after that.
I think the fact that it was so polarizing, when we're coming back together, there's a lot more tolerance around everybody's opinions about things. Before that event, people would just be like so entrenched in what they believed, and everybody else was just wrong. You're wrong, you're wrong, we're wrong. Let me tell you why. And you're never going to change anybody's mind. But afterwards, in order to come back together as a society, we had to be able to set aside differences. Yeah, maybe you're like that. And maybe that works for you. And honey, I'm just going to be okay with it because honestly, it doesn't impact my life. It impacts your life. So you need to be good with how you're living your life and embracing the idea that, not everybody's going to be like you are. And that's a good thing. You don't want the whole world to be like you. You want everybody to be different so that we can all like grow and expand and have better things. Because if everybody's the same, then nothing changes. Change happens at the poles.
Yeah, it does. And that's the polarization of being the rescuer or the judge, wasn't it? That a lot of that was going on then. I'm going to rescue so and so by changing their mind, or I'm going to rescue so and so by stopping them doing this or making them do that, depending on who watched
where
what.
You are.
Yeah.
And
actually that's none of anyone else's business. And so yeah, a lot of control stuff came out and fear stuff came out, and I think it was definitely one of the biggest shift times. And do you know that the same kind of astrology is going on soon around all of that? So yeah, watch this space, see what happens in August time around big shifts in the planetary action. So I hear. I'm not a massive astrologist, but I hear some things from the women that are all men.
Yeah, or any gender. That last eclipse was a really big energy shifter for the whole planet. And it's not just like one country or another, because you're in the UK, I'm in the US. People from all over the world literally listen to this podcast. And it's happening for all of us in different ways, but we're feeling the shift. And sometimes it's really sudden, like when you have an earthquake and like everything moves all at once. And sometimes it's just one of those tremblers where it's just shaking and it continues on for, a minute or two. And then the shift happens. I think COVID was like the big shift. I mean, it was just like in everybody's face, but now things are starting to kind of shift more subtly, but they are shifting. And it means different things for different people, because everybody's doing something interesting and unique, and everybody's living their life in a way I shouldn't say everybody is living their lives. People seem to be trying to live their lives in a way that resonates with them, allows them to resonate out who they are, not who they're supposed to be according to some standard that really hasn't worked all that well. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in the position we're in.
Yeah, self-expression is definitely becoming a more popular choice, which is very cool in my book. Very cool indeed.
Yeah. So when you help people shift their energy or become aware of their energy, why don't you describe exactly what you do to help people in your coaching? I think that's a good place to start.
Okay. So before it was the trauma
in the dark, when you were in the dark.
Mostly we go into the dark before we go into the light. That is for sure, unless we use State Change Alchemy, because that's more about shifting through emotional states. If I'm one-to-one, depending on how spiritually aware and capable and open the client is, depends on mostly what comes through, because I work with their higher self. I become a conduit for their higher self. So I guess I'm like a perception of their I'm an umbrella hologram. I can bring like a hologram image of whatever comes through. So if they are trying to think of some examples, so if they've got some kind of illness that needs to shift out, and we can get to the root cause of the illness, and we can actually move and shift that illness out. If they had a very strict upbringing within a cult or a church or something that's got them tied up in knots, I can go into the consciousness of the parents and the ancestral line to see how far back we can do the healing that's affecting them, or find out if it's their energy, their sadness, their pain, and then shift it out through the ancestral line. If it's past life, often a past life might come through, or something in the Akashic records we need to go and have a look through. If there are past lives from star being existences, sometimes the star beings come through and they'll feel them on their shoulders or on their head. I get imagery, more so claircognizant, so I feel everything, and then so I feel pink, or I feel blue, or I feel a huge energy, or sometimes my shamanic helpers come in, so aspects of myself, white feather and medicine man, because they're like, oh, step aside, I'll do your dirty work for you, and they'll clear off the entities. When, you know, a lot of people have addiction issues, or they've been doing way too much cocaine and they've got all of these entities niggling around in their energy. So I hand it over, and we send them off with love, and they often, actually, some of the entities have come back while I've been in the car. I've managed to get them through an alchemy state into the 5th dimension, and they've come back and thanked me with pure love. And I found myself sat in traffic crying my eyes out, because this entity came back the next day and thanked me so much for removing him from the man that I removed him from, because he thought he was doing a good job guarding the house, sort of guarding the man, making him miserable. Since the age of 5, he'd been with him. He'd manifested this thought form that had been stuck with him, being angry with his dad. Yeah, and it literally, I couldn't believe the power of the love that came through to me, with the gratitude of moving that consciousness on. So any kind of consciousness is I can work with, depending on what comes my way. As long as the client's pretty pure in their light, and they want great change, and they're open, I can work with their higher selves and their energy.
So what kind of people would come to you? What kinds of things would they be experiencing that they would want to come and chat with you?
So say their business is stuck, or one lady had a degenerative back issue, and she's a very highly gifted psychic, but she couldn't work, and she had no confidence in front of the camera. And we spoke, and then all of that kind of stuff that I was talking about came through. So the stuck energy was family orientated, and that removed. So then she was walking, then she was swimming, and then she was in front of the camera. Someone who I work for, luxury, which sounds weird, luxury recovery business. So say you're getting clean from drugs, but you go in, you stop whatever you're taking. Day 6, I will go in and I will spend 3 hours with them, and I will go through and clean their entire energy system, and then get to the root cause of the pain that was mostly a mother wound or father wound that was suppressed so much that we bring it out with love, and then it's gone, and they just feel cleaner and clearer, so they're far less likely to relapse. But in the main, entrepreneurs that know that they're spiritual and just can't get past things, you know, that other things have not quite succeeded, or they're feeling lonely, or they need a sense of belonging, or they've got everything but they still feel empty, and it's because they haven't connected with their spiritual side.
That makes perfect sense. And so how do you help these people? Is it like one-on-one? Is it group coaching?
So I do a 12 session package, and often the first session is a 3-hour breakthrough, and they can use that over 5 months. So it's up to them if they come every week, or they want to miss every other week. And with that, I'm available on WhatsApp. So, you know, the random headache that appears in the middle of the day, I might be able to just tune into and go, what's the conflict? Where are you at? How are you feeling about your mum? And then we can shift it on. So there's a bonus kind of extra connection to be able to come into my WhatsApp, because once I'm tuned into someone, it just works, just works.
Yeah, there's the energetic tie there.
Yeah.
And then they never seem to leave. I don't know.
You have to be really strict, don't you? Or we have blue lights now. Excuse the blue light.
I was thinking the blue light special.
Yeah.
I'm supposed to be thinking about blue lights and what they represent. Maybe now's a good time to ask you that question.
What blue lights represent to me?
Well, what if somebody was seeing blue lights a lot? What do you think that has to do with?
So the blue
Like
energy
blue
that I work
neon.
with, yeah, that's either Arcturian or Palladian, or it's simple divine technology communication through the throat chakra. So there's another blue one, but those are the two that main two. Syrian comes through as blue sometimes as well. So Syrian, say if we've had a past life, Syrian and part of your soul aspect is from there.
Arcturian, and what was the other one?
Arcturian and Palladian.
Palladian.
Yeah. And possibly even Orion, but I'm thinking it doesn't feel right to be Orion. It's just that they get so often come together because if someone's had past lives in some star systems, they've had them in others. But I would Palladian, Orion, no, Palladian, Arcturian. What was the other one I said?
Syrian.
Stop being so serious. Yes, Syrian.
So you think that if people are star seeds, that they're not usually just like from one planet or star system, they're from like multiple ones. It's like reincarnating in different star systems, and then now they're here.
Definitely.
And
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And I think it's even more complex than that. I think we have soul aspects. So if you imagine hundreds of energy tubes of time and experiences coming off them, we might not even be, one soul might not be in one life. We have aspects of soul that go into different places. That's why it's so hard to. Yeah. I don't know if our human mind is actually quite capable of really knowing. It feels like it's more complex than the soul just goes.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense, because you can kind of change paradigms. You can do it through meditation, but you can do it even fully conscious. You can slip. This is going to sound weird, but you can slip paradigms while you think you're doing one thing. You can actually be doing something else at the same time in a different parallel universe sort of experience.
Exactly. So, and you can time jump, can't you? Quantum leap. So why would the soul just be in one life after another, and there's no such thing as time anyway? So yeah, it's definitely more complex than.
You can change the past just by thinking about a past event differently, consciously choosing to think about something differently. It affects the event itself. Because it affects everybody. Everybody perceives the event differently at the time, and then they remember it differently later. And so if you remember it differently than you had been remembering it, it changes the event altogether.
Yeah, and that's why gaslighting and narcissism and all of those buzzwords are so big, because they literally mess with people's minds.
Yeah, they mess with their memories. They challenge memories, and because the two memories are so totally diametrically opposed in the memory of both individuals, and one is a very powerful individual is in terms of influencing the other person. That's how gaslighting can actually occur, is you accept the more powerful interpretation, even though you may think that it's wrong. Somewhere in your head, you've got this cognitive dissonance going on, going, no, that's not what happened. But you're
Yeah.
not sure because, like I said, you can just by thinking about something differently, you can actually change the event.
Yes, and that's why manifesting, when people are so sure on focusing and focusing and focusing on the truth that they want or the reality they want, that it's more likely to happen.
Yes,
Yeah. Oh,
they're
I like
they're
that.
they're remembering into the future
Mm.
and all the feelings that come with it. A feeling is so important when it comes
Mm.
to manifesting, being able to put yourself in the feeling that you want to feel as you experience whatever you're experiencing, you want to experience, which you
Yeah.
are actually experiencing. It just hasn't entered into the reality yet. And everything
Yeah.
exists in the reality and nothing exists in the reality. That's what like people wanting money. Well, you can want anything you want. Everything exists. It's just whether it's going to show up in the material world for you or not has more to do with being in that resonance that you can see it rather than
Hmm.
just having it in your imagination.
Yeah. Fascinating, isn't it? Fascinating.
It's so fascinating. And it all comes down to, we get what we focus on, and we are always manifesting, and just, be careful what you think about.
Mhm. Absolutely.
So you offer a become an energetic client magnet. How does that work?
So Become an Energetic Client Magnet is a series. So the first one was around healing the survivor wound. And
Mhm.
they've all been things that I've worked on myself because I've gone through it, documented it all, and then worked with the energetics. So because of my past sales experience, I did a 4 day activation and then prompts on sales. So that was literally shift your energy out of survivor into thriver, keep that activation, and then do the 4 prompts. And it was a brilliant, brilliant buzz because everyone was in a WhatsApp group cheering each other on. The next one is pleaser to profit, but profit is a double entendre. So it's the profit that we are in the wisdom keeper within, and also to make more profit. So that's exactly the same layout. And then there will be more. So whatever comes through for me when I'm doing more layers of myself, I then bring them into this series of becoming an energetic client magnet. And they're low ticket, as they say in the online world. They're easy, easy entry value, a really good laugh, massively supportive, and it welcomes people into my world without too much outlay, so that they can really see and feel how I work with the energy and where I hold the space, and a safe, structured place with fun, integrity, held well, and yeah, so I really enjoyed those.
That's interesting. I know from experience, when I'm around people who are really energetically in tune with this life experience we're having, my whole energy level rises.
Mm.
And I I I feel more empowered doing what I'm doing, everything that I'm doing. And it spreads out to, my community, people that I interact with, um, in my real life, not my online life. They start responding to me differently too. But when you're
Yeah.
trying to go it alone out there by yourself, it's easy to get discouraged because you don't have anybody else that really understands the value of operating on a higher energy level. And um it, you start to doubt yourself, and that's when the darkness takes over and the old trauma starts rearing its ugly head, and you're like, well, maybe I shouldn't be different. Maybe I should just go back in the middle of the circle and be a good little whatever.
Just reflect it right back out to them. Keep yourself safe, or just you may have to do another layer, but there's always a way through these things. There's always a big gift. There's always a separation that might need to happen in order to elevate.
Yeah. I love that. So, so how do people work with you? How do they get in touch with you?
Well, if you are in the UK and you are a coach or you are a healer or you'd like to travel to the UK in September, there will be the State Change Alchemy training where I facilitate one full day in a manor house called Cowley Manor, which is a beautiful Cotswold spa hotel, and we go into the 45-minute process. So you learn it with other coaches. I'm going to say high caliber, and I don't mean that in an arrogant way. I mean that I want people to be able to hold space for each other. So they have to have a level of ability to hold humans before, because when I beta tested it, a couple of the people were willing to be held for, but they weren't then holding for the other people. So it wasn't fair. And it didn't hold the group structure well. So high caliber coaches, healers, therapists, come and learn State Change Alchemy with me. It's a 4-month program. The most of it's online after the initial day, and then you'll be qualified, and then we're going to build a community through that. That's all on my website, jillkirkham.com, State Change Alchemy. One-to-ones, I do, as I said, 12 sessions, and that would be, I'm actually full at the moment. I've got 10 clients, so that's enough. However, you know, the moment this video, when this video, God, I sounded really ancient then. When this goes out, I might not have 10, but it's always worth asking. And if it's a one-off session, if someone really just needs a shift and we can do a 3 hours and it's done, then I am open to that, depending on what the circumstances is. And that's all on my website as well, or social media. I'm quite big on Facebook. I like Facebook.
I do too. It seems like I'm always there. And you spell your name with a G. I spell my name with a J. Just wanted to get that out there for people that are listening to this and they're like, oh, I typed Jill, Jill Kirkham in there and I didn't find anything. It's Jill with a G.
Jill with a G.
I love that. So what's the one thing that you hope the audience takes away from this conversation today, Jill?
To not be scared of making changes that cause separation. I think I've mentioned it a few times, so it's obviously the theme. We do have to let go of things. We do have to surrender. We do have to see the mirrors in ourselves in order to fall back, get the gifts and get the learning of things often. And sometimes the things we can ruminate or procrastinate about for months on end, the moment we do them, it's the best thing we ever did. So yeah, separate to elevate. That's the definite. Go for it. You can. Everything is temporary. You can always reconnect, whether it's a partner or a connection, or just with a thought, a reoccurring thought. Let it go, in the words of that famous song.
From somebody in your neck of the woods.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me today. This has been awesome.
Oh, it's been an absolute pleasure. It's 9, I think it's 10 o'clock at night here now. So apologies for the dark, but yeah, I'm really glad we had to call. It's been, the energy between us is lovely, and I hope other people appreciate it too. So thank you so much for holding space for me.
Thank you for joining me.
Thank you so much for tuning in to another empowering episode of the You World Order Showcase podcast. We hope you've enjoyed hearing from our incredible life, health, and transformational coaches who are making a profound impact on the world. Remember, change begins with you, and you have the power to transform your life and the lives of others. If you want to take that next step and unlock your true potential, visit thecoachesalchemist.com, where you can find the 3 ways we can help you for free to spin your talent into gold with clarity, a system, and a plan. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an inspiring episode. And if you enjoyed today's show, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on your favorite podcast platform. Your feedback means the world to us and helps us reach more people with our positive message. Stay connected with us on social media for updates, behind-the-scenes content, and upcoming guest announcements. You can find us on Facebook at the U World Order, or simply visit thecoachesalchemist.com.